Hello, this is Mark DiCarlo. Voices of the Coastal Bend has to stay up for 10 seconds. Producer Mark A. DiCarlo. This is not Mr. John Donovan's show of the Port Aransas Conservancy, who was opposed to a loading terminal on Harbor Island for large crude oil containers. And at the last minute when I called him, he was not coming on. So this is a goof. We're goofing around on the show because we don't want to cancel because we were all set up. And I'm going to try to get someone to come on. Judy, come on over here and talk to us about Christmas. Come on. Judy, come on over. This is a part-time person in my office, Judy Henning. So Judy doesn't like Christmas because she's Jewish. No, I'm just kidding. So you celebrate what, Christmas trees and all that, the secular part of the holiday, I guess?
Sometimes, yeah. The festivity
Sometimes.
part. It's not a big part. We don't do it every year. We celebrate Hanukkah, which is popular in the United States because Christmas is so big. It's a minor Jewish holiday, so
Everywhere else, but
in the
and then it's kind of like the Kwanzaa. Is that an invented holiday, or was it actually celebrated in Africa? Do you know?
Yes, it was culturally. It was a combination of different cultural celebrations that different peoples did in Africa, and it was part of the resurgence of the African identity that a lot of African Americans found out about and brought in.
Well, so what do you do? What do Jewish people do during Hanukkah? Very few of us know. Even those of us that may be part Jewish.
Well, Hanukkah
aren't sure. Aren't sure.
Well, it's like most. It's like Christmas and Kwanzaa. It's very family oriented. The history behind Hanukkah is that once again the Jews were being attacked, and the temple was desecrated. And when the Maccabees won the battle and won the temple back, they went to light the oil for the temple, and there wasn't enough oil. It had been destroyed and poured out. And so just in faith, they went ahead and lit it, and it would have taken longer. They couldn't make the journey in one day. It took 8 days. And the miracle of Hanukkah was that little bit of oil that should have only lasted 1 day lasted 8 days. And so we
kind of like loaves and fishes, right? Kind of. I mean,
nothing at all.
So was this before?
Like
well,
that.
I mean, the loaves and fishes supposedly, lasted. So what's the deal on So was that before or after, like Moses and?
That was after.
After Moses, etc. And well, that's interesting.
It's in the. It's in
so
the
you go to temple? Do you go to temple or synagogue during the? Are you supposed to during Hanukkah?
During Hanukkah, no. Hanukkah is usually. It depends when it falls. Sometimes it falls during Shabbat's every Friday night, the Sabbath, and so if it falls during that, then we'll go to temple for that. But we don't have special Hanukkah services. Again, Judaism is very home-centered. And so we celebrate at home. We light a candle every night, and Jewish holidays are from sunset to sunset.
I wonder the percentage of people that are Jewish that are observant. Like of Hanukkah.
Well,
if that's possible to know.
Yeah, there's studies that are done. It's that's an interesting question. And observant. Well, observant is an interesting question.
Yeah, observant. Obviously, the music is. I find distracting. Alexa, shut off. So that's the story on Hanukkah. So
I have an interesting comment on the Hanukkah part. It's like a lot of traditions in all religions. They were passed down orally, and so at one point in the Jewish history, nobody could remember if we were supposed to light the candles one at a time or light them all and blow them out one. And so the rabbis all got together, and there was a long discussion, and finally it was decided that based on what Jews understand their role in the world is, which is to help repair the world and bring light into the world, that we should light the candles. We should light we should light the candles, because you should always bring light into the world rather than extinguishing the candles, which would bring darkness. So that's a nice little aside.
No, it's very nice. It's very nice. I didn't have anything smart on it to say. No, that's wonderful. So how do you like working in a law office? You like that?
I do like that. This is, I've worked in other law offices. This one is very unique.
Because it's smaller, or because the guy who runs it's a character?
Yes.
You don't necessarily have to answer that.
Both of those.
But we have two other people here today, and are they going to come on and talk about their celebration?
I think they are.
Daisy, come on over here. Daisy, come on over. Come on, you've been on many times. Come on. Tell us about. Come on,
Daisy. We need the.
Come on now. We're doing the show by the seat of our pants, because Mr. John Donovan of the Port Aransas Conservancy, who's opposed to loading terminal on Harbor Island for large crude oil containers, wasn't able to come on at the last minute. I guess I'm being a little bit rude. And Jess says, Merry Christmas. Jess is watching the show from her other computer. Jess, why don't you come over and tell us about your traditions? Come on over.
Hi, Javier. You're my Facebook friend. Good to see you.
Javier's on here. Annalisa Barrera Ghetto, who, again, we're just winging it because we're going to do a show. We figured because we were, even if it's 10 minutes, because we were kind of stood up. Anybody's been ever stood up on a date or anything? When you're younger, you ever stood up on a date? No. Nobody ever called you?
No. Why would you ask me that? Why would you assume?
Because actually, no, I'm not assuming that.
It's
happened. It happened to me. I mean, it's happened to me. I don't know. I mean, that's very rude.
It is rude.
And I don't know what the story is on people who do that. I don't know if they're self-centered.
Yeah, I would think that would be
self-centered, or maybe sometimes there's psychological games people play.
Maybe so.
You know what I mean?
You sure they weren't dead? That would be a good excuse. But the only one.
No.
Don't stand people up. That's rude.
No. I mean, obviously he should have called. And it looks like, and look, it looks like it's a worthwhile issue. This building this large port here, but loading terminal on Harbor Island. It looks like it's an interesting issue.
Yeah, it would have been an interesting show. I'm sorry that he canceled at the last minute, or there was some confusion, because he wrote a great ad article, and it was very interesting. And
so what's the deal on, so what do you think about this deal on, did you read about this publicity? You follow politics. What do you think about this Trump being condemned for pulling the troops out of Syria? Did you read about that?
I did read a little bit about it. Trump can't do anything without being controversial. He seems to thrive on it. And
why was that controversial? Don't you think that was great? Any pull out of troops, whenever I see pull out of troops as whatever, an old time hippie perhaps, or liberal, or more traditional liberal than I think we have now, I think that's good.
Well, I think it's the timing and whose advantage, whose advantage is pulling out of Syria. Well, it's Russia's. And so, of course, with all of the Russia, and his increasingly complex relationship with them, it seems like it's very compelling, particularly with Flynn getting sentenced and then him pulling the troops out. It's always kind of deflecting.
Well, I'm for peace with Russia too, and I remember I've told you several times. I've said this on the air several times too. Mercy Rojas joined us. Hello, Mercy. Mercy used to.
Hey, Mercy,
Mercy worked for years with my office on and off, and right now it's off, but for many years, I don't know. She's watching, but we're just doing a flying by the seat of the pants show. It's only going to be 15 minutes to take up to show that we're actually doing it.
Well, wait a minute. Go back to your for peace with Russia. Well,
no. Yeah, I'm for peace with Russia.
Okay, but what at any price?
Well, I don't know what price there would be. I mean, we're not, we're not sacrificing any troops for to be at peace with them.
Well,
what's the price we're paying? It looks to me like there is no price.
Well, look, conservative or liberal, we have got troops deployed all around the world.
So one less is better.
You would think, but why that one? When we've got them all over and we have them in less strategic places and people that actually need our help, why are we
Do you know,
Not helping the underdog.
I'm embarrassed to
perhaps.
say that I was unaware that we had troops there. Were you aware of it?
I was aware of it. Yes.
Okay, I was unaware that they had 2,000 troops. When were they deployed there?
Well, it is hard to keep up with every place
Right.
that we have.
I think that's
People.
part of Operation Enduring Freedom. I find that they call all these, so we have,
Yes, I read 1984. I like all the terminology.
well, that is part of it, though. They
Yeah.
can call it Operation Enduring Freedom. So we're in that country. I don't think we lost a great number of troops, maybe 50, if people don't care about that. So we're going to be in every country in the Middle East, isn't it? Isn't that terrible?
Well, I think it is terrible. And I think that what is also terrible is that we are complicit and involved in destabilizing these regions. And then when we have asylum seekers that are devastated as a result of some of our actions, we suddenly decide we don't want to follow our asylum laws.
You're referring to the asylum seekers from primarily Central America, Guatemala, Honduras, etc.
Right. And which is separate from the illegal
Changing subjects.
illegal. Well, it's
So
separate.
because you're thrown in, you're allowed to do anything you want.
Yeah. So yes, I do think it's horrible for us to have troops all around the world. And I think it's worse that we have troops all around the world and then we don't take care of our veterans when they come home.
I have the most controversial view on veterans of anyone that you could imagine.
You're misunderstood on your views too. Maybe you ought to clear some of that up.
I don't understand. Oh, we're not taking care of the veterans. Well, what are the veterans getting? And exactly, how much a month? Do you have to be disabled? Does the average veteran have access to free medical care? Why is this medical care that we keep hearing about, why is it inadequate? I mean, I have clients who go to the VA, and I can't say that it's been my impression that their medical care is inadequate.
Well, I'm not a veteran, but
I'm not either.
I have firsthand.
I'm a veteran of many things, but not of the war. It's a joke, right?
I have firsthand experience with family members who have used the VA and close friends. And some of the care is quite good. Usually the in-hospital care is decent.
Right.
What is not decent is the clinic care. And it's been shown, it's still been documented and hasn't been fixed, how they would delay making appointments, having people come in. So if you go in through the emergency room and you're having a heart attack, you may get immediate care, but you're not going to get the aftercare. Well,
I think I would agree. Operative care is questionable. In other words, should you get your knee operated on at the VA, or should you? I think the operative care is a little bit questionable. Is that correct or incorrect?
Well, I'm just going to say promises were made when these men and women joined. They were promised. It was a contract. They fulfilled their part of the contract. If they have an honorable or an undisputed discharge, they fulfilled their part of the contract. Why aren't we fulfilling our side of it? Why aren't they getting one of the benefits? And then there's the whole controversy over who joins the military and why. And so,
but we don't. I mean, the home. There's two things that we mostly hear about the veterans: homelessness, number one, and then number two is the health care.
Right.
And then, as I said, I'm not so certain that it would seem that there's an issue regarding what the conservatives, and I'm not a conservative in many respects.
That's
but
true.
There's an issue regarding whether or not these veterans are living up to their part of the bargain when they get out. Are they looking for work? Do they want to work? Do they feel they're entitled to free medical care, which they probably are as a part of the contract that you're referring to?
Question?
Well, I'm asking it.
Okay. All right. Well,
I'm asking it. So because we always hear about the right is always talking about welfare loafers. They're always talking about cutting back on food stamps. They're always talking about everything's an entitlement. But they never talk about is the veterans, is that the same thing? Is it the same issue? But because it's the military, that's sacrosanct. The military, they can't make any mistakes, according to the right wing. Oh no, they're perfect. They could waste all the money in the world.
Well,
and isn't it the same? Police too. Oh, they can't do anything wrong. They don't have any entitlement. They're allowed to be a member of a union. So they're picking and choosing, as far as I'm concerned, the government programs that are good, and then the ones that benefit the common populace are bad.
But you switched to a different topic, and
Probably.
one I kind of agree with. But going back to, are the veterans doing what they need to do? And the entire point is, when men and women are deployed and they have mental or physical issues when they come back, and then you have an economy that perhaps if you have any type of issue, it's going to make it even harder to get a job. They should be able to get one of the benefits that they were promised, which is medical care. Maybe the medical care, if it was properly given to them, would help them be more employable if there are jobs available.
Annalisa Guerra says they need better mental health care, which
Yes, they do.
probably true, because you don't really have much in the way of mental health care anyway.
Well,
In the United States of America, you don't have the greatest, because we know every day here at this office, people suffer because they can't obtain inpatient care for their loved ones.
Well, and
There's no long-term residential facilities for them,
exactly.
and the families suffer.
Right. And I was gonna tell you, mention this. We do Social Security disability, and you've got the general public thinks, oh, everybody gets on disability. Nobody, it's a scam. People are on there. It's all meth heads. People are on there. Well, you and I know for sure, and people can look it up. You can look up the percentage of people that are approved, and it's very low. And especially now in the last, how many years since they've made it even more difficult?
About the last 8 to 10 years, they've made it very difficult to win Social Security disability cases.
Right.
And what's interesting is, this is an angle. They did the same thing in Austin when they started. It used to be possible to win these suspension of driver's license cases if you get a DWI in Austin. Well, they didn't change any laws. Is what they do is they change the judges. So the judges become so we get these conservative judges, or we screen them in such a way that we encourage judges that are going to deny benefits in one way or another. Well, you have to adhere to, but we don't, for example, investigate judges that are denying most of the cases, but we're going to take a close look at the judges that are granting most of the decisions.
Right.
So there's various subtle social ways even though the federal Social Security disability judges are appointed for life, there's subtle ways that they're doing it to make them deny a much larger percentage of people than they used to be, which I think is awful.
It is awful because Social Security disability is like Social Security. These people worked and paid into the system. It's not like SSI, where it's more of a welfare program, as you know.
Social Security disability is for people who've worked 5 of the last 10 years,
and
20, 40 years,
and
the last
like
40 years.
They
pay for it. If they don't want to give it to you, quit taking it out of our checks.
Right. So.
Right?
Yeah.
Why pay it? And then they could even, not often, but sometimes people aren't treated with respect they should be treated with.
Absolutely.
You go to a hearing and you're degraded or something, or even sometimes the lawyer is degraded. I had a judge not too long ago make some untoward assertions about me committing fraud, really. And I obviously addressed it, but I would never, I've been practicing that field 30 years. I would never do anything like that. So, disappointing. So I'm talking about the veterans and the vet and how the veterans are treated.
Right.
And it's kind of, that's another thing. Does it make me good because I'm say, oh, treat the veterans better? Does that make me enlightened or good?
Well, no.
I'm going to say that. Oh, okay. Now, obviously we want to treat everybody good, right?
Well, we do.
But
touching on the point you said before, yes, we're all like, oh, the military, oh, they're sacrosanct. And God forbid someone should take a knee to protest a social issue because at football, the military has actually paid the NFL to advertise so that more people will join.
All that is going on.
So, so we're very rah-rah, let's wrap it all in the flag. until one of these men actually needs help, or one of these women actually need help, particularly mental health. And then suddenly it's like, oh, we'll call back. Oh, well, we don't have any appointments. Oh, well, just do the best you can. And so it's a facade. We're all pro-military in the broad strokes, but when it comes down to it, are we really doing right by them? In my opinion,
a lot of this is a propaganda, right? It's a popularity contest. Right. It's propaganda. You know, it has no meaning. Yeah, it's kind of like a bad analogy. I've told you the last couple of weeks. Oh, you know, John Lennon's for peace. I'm for. Well, yeah, I guess you're for peace. That's a good thing to say. How are you going to do it now? Especially with somebody's pointing a gun at you or whatever. God, you know, God forbid. You know, maybe. I mean, I guess at the time that he was saying that stuff, we hadn't heard those words. Probably back then, that was a little bit avant-garde because we were so incorporated in the 50s mentality and all that. So maybe that was good that he was saying it.
Maybe.
But it's pretty simplistic. And it's pretty simplistic to say, you know, help the veteran. I don't know. I mean, that's what I think. And I think that they're using it as a form of patriotism to try to encourage what you could call the military-industrial complex and make these wars more, what you'd say, actionable, or make us easier to get into these wars, which are, I mean, do you think Americans really have a right to be in the Middle East the way that we have been? Do we really have the right to get involved in Iraq or Afghanistan for often fraudulent pretenses and the human suffering that we've caused, which many of the people on the left think it's just for oil?
Well, I think it's a complex issue. I don't think it's just for oil, but no, I don't think we have a right to do that. We scream and yell when another country's developing nuclear arms, and yet we have them. And now we have them, and now we have people that are very concerned that we have them because they may not care for the man that has the power to launch them now. And I'm one of them. But it you know, what gives us the right? What makes us the big moral dad?
And we're the only ones that ever used it. We're the only ones that used one of those bombs. Well, and then, you know, and obviously that it is a little bit questionable the way it was used, the way women, children, civilians bombed en masse. No targeted bombing, not engaging the troops. That was done. Not saying that that's not done in war, but it's questionable morally to do that.
And it was World War II. It was justified. You know, it was justified that Truman ended the war by doing that. And of course, we have to justify everything. And no one is going to argue that bringing an end to World War II was a good thing. But World War II was the last type of war. Since then, from the Korean conflict and Vietnam, we were trying to stop the red spread. And it's kind of amusing to me that the very same people that were, I was raised on, you know, better off dead than red. And now we've got, better dead than red. Mm-hmm. And now we have all this collusion going on, and those same far right conservative hawks are like, nah, what's the difference?
Well, that circumstances have changed. Obviously, Russia is not the socialistic,
the Soviet Union,
atheist, communistic organization. They are in the same way. I don't exactly understand their form of government at this time. Do you? Are you up on it? What exactly, how much free enterprise there is, et cetera? I'm not exactly certain.
Not enough to go into it in detail, right. But I have no doubt whatever the front religion or non-religion in Russia is, that their intention is still the same that it has been. And it's not to do good.
You know, I was watching it's not to do good.
It's not to do good.
Oh, I think that's why do you say it's not fair to do good from Russia? I mean, what? Well, other than the communist atrocities of their own people and that, I mean, we were on their side in World War II. I mean,
well, if we invaded Canada, would you think that would be, you know, good? They're invading their bordering countries. I mean, that's not good.
Well, that's true. At one time, most of those countries were part of their empire that they let go of.
Mm-hmm.
etc. That's
They
questionable.
poisoned a few spies. I mean, it's kind of rough, and the Jews are still persecuted in Russia.
How are they persecuted?
Just the same way they always are. They're just suppressed. Immigration.
I thought one angle some years ago was interesting when many Jews, when they emigrate, leave Russia. I thought it was kind of an interesting angle. I shouldn't be laughing. They said, well, look, you got all this education, free education over here, doctors and that. Now you're going to have to pay it back. I don't know. I thought that was kind of an amusing argument. But I don't know how many, I've told you before, there's many great Jewish people from Odessa. I don't know how many Jewish people are still in Russia, or I don't really know.
I don't know the number. I don't. There was a time when finally a lot of Jews were allowed to leave, but they're still, like all over the world, there's still Jews. There's still Jews in Arab countries.
Yeah, in some of the Arab countries. And then obviously there were Christians in the Arab countries. They claim there's been great Christian persecution.
There is, yes.
Since we've gotten involved in these wars. Well, this was kind of an impromptu show, but
And just to be clear, Muslims have been persecuted in other countries over the period of history too. It's not just Jews and Christians and other peoples. So we're not just because we're in that club. I just want to make it clear that don't persecute anybody.
Well, that's
persecution bad.
Well, I mean, I guess there's different forms of persecution. Let's say that I guess if you wouldn't hire someone because of their ethnic group or religion, that's kind of a form of persecution, right? Is that right? If everybody did that, then they wouldn't be able to work, which was kind of the blacks had a tremendous problem with that in the 60s, getting jobs, right? Discrimination. That was a tremendous problem back then. And, I wonder sometimes if people still don't want to mostly hire their own. Is that right?
I think there's a natural
there's a problem with that.
I think there's a natural inclination, and then I think that there's a ignorance and a fear if people are different from you, and I think we should move beyond that.
Well, that will be our Christmas. That will be your Christian and Christmas message from a Jewish person. That we should move beyond that. Of course, again, it's easy to say what people should be doing, but then in our hearts, it's always something different. We have all these messages around Christmas and it's easy to say, but whether or not they're actually incorporated in our hearts and then we carry them out is another thing. Well, we're going to do an abbreviated show because my guest didn't show, but at any rate, at least we did something. It won't air on public access. We want to thank whoever happened, even Mercy, my ex-employee,
Mercy,
who keeps coming back. And we didn't complain too much about politics, which I always have a lot of complaints about that, about our local politicians. Joe McComb is our mayor again, and hopefully he does a good job.
Yes, good luck to Mayor McComb.
Mayor McComb and the new city council.
And the new city council, I wish them all the best. I certainly hope that, I
hope they work hard. I hope they read some of these reports, and I hope they ask intelligent questions and fair questions. And I hope when they pick a city manager, it is not someone they use a search firm spending much of our money.
Well,
spending much of our money for the search firm out of state. And I certainly hope they get somebody who is perhaps innovative and intelligent and honest, and not somebody who's just incorporated in a political system and who knows when to keep their mouth shut. Because it's my impression that's what's often done with the city manager.
You're not inferring that happened recently, though.
I don't know of a good city manager, and I thought the actions regarding the last city manager, where she resigned, what was her name? Where she resigned, and we weren't really told why she resigned or reasoning, or she was forced out, and that was handled in a what they call an executive session, right. And we were never notified.
Well, can I just say one more thing on that?
Certainly.
We're always telling people to get out and vote, and that's great. And now we have, Mayor McComb has been reelected, and we have city council, but we need to be more involved, not just on the day we vote and expect them to do the whole job. So things get changed when we make noise. So let's make noise about all these issues we continue to me especially, gripe about, and see if we can't help the mayor and city council make Corpus Christi a little bit better.
I always help by making constructive, intelligent, fair, and honest criticism, I hope. At any rate, Merry Christmas to all.
Yes, Merry Christmas to
It's all
everyone who observes.
from one of the employees of the Mark DiCarlo PLC Law Office on December 20th, 2018. Bye-bye.
All right.